This is the Franklin Township Public Library Board of Trustees meeting. It's January 22nd, and I will call the meeting to order. We will start with a pledge of allegiance to the flag, which is right in the corner. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll. Agnes Kulvania. Here. Amy Arcelala.
Here.
Aisha Ali. She's not here.
Right.
Okay. Kevin McNeil.
Yes.
Okay. Zach Lichtman.
Yes.
Tiana Gresham.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Nick Champa, that's me, I'm here. And January Adams, our director. Thank you. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law. Schedule and notification of this meeting have been provided to the Courier News, the Home News Tribune, and the Franklin Township Clerk. Copies have been posted in the library's vestibule and are available at the reference desk. I would like to now turn the meeting over to January for the election of officers. And as I mentioned in a email a couple weeks ago, offices are open, and I would encourage people to self-nominate if they are willing to hold an office.
Are there any nominations for the position of president?
I'm going to nominate Nick to continue on as president.
I will accept that nomination.
Well, is there, do I need a second?
No, you don't need a second for.
Second. Yeah.
Nominations don't
Don't
need
need a
second.
No, there's
No.
and no need for discussion.
Well, you have to.
Are there
allow
any
for-
other nominations?
That's,
Okay.
Okay. All in favor? Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you all.
Stop.
Would you like to continue? Or shall I?
Sure,
now it's you, Nick.
Okay. The office of Vice President and Treasurer is open. Are there any nominations, including self-nominations for this office?
I retain my position. I nominate myself and to retain the position.
Great.
Agnes, okay. Are there any other nominations? Nominations shall be closed. Those in favor of electing Agnes Kulabanya to continue as treasurer, as she has done for a good while, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I find this unanimous. Thank you, Agnes. And let's see, we have another office.
Secretary.
Yes, very important. Are there any nominations for the office of secretary? Including our current secretary? Okay.
No nominations.
I will nominate Kevin McNeil.
I second that.
Okay.
Any other nominations? Those in favor of having Kevin continue as in this office of secretary signify by raising their hand. Or, okay, again, January, I find this unanimous. And so we have officers. I would like to open the meeting to the public. First part of the public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak at this time?
Nope.
Seeing none, I will close this first part of the public comment session. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 24th, which was our last meeting?
I motion to these.
Kevin has made a motion to approve the minutes
Approve the
of
minutes.
October 24th, 2024. Is there a second? Zach has seconded. Is there any discussion of any part of the minutes or any part of the minutes? People like minutes, okay? Those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, signify.
Aye.
Okay. This is unanimous, the minutes are accepted. And I'd like to move on to the director's reports. First of all, the financial reports. And this encompasses 3 months, October, November, and December, since we missed 2 meetings.
Start with October.
By the way, has everybody received their packet?
I didn't get mine in the mail.
Yeah, I got mine today. Usually I got it. I didn't get any mail yesterday though. So.
No mail.
You shouldn't.
I guess
Oh,
I'll
wait,
do it
Monday.
today. I
Monday
did not
was-
check the mail.
Today's
Monday was the
Wednesday.
holiday.
Wednesday was a holiday,
I
so.
didn't get the newest, January.
Maybe it was too
So it's
cold.
Okay. I left home around
Great.
4:30 and my mail hadn't come yet for today. No mail had come yet for today, but we'll.
Yeah. Does anybody need? You want-
I did look these over.
Agnes, do you want to look? Do you know what? Are you okay? You want to? Do you have it?
Not to do with the change. I haven't.
I'll look
for
for
the
it.
newest one.
All right. And this one too.
January, perhaps, do you have any particular comments on the financial?
For October, I could just say that we would be at the 33.3% of the budget year, and overall, we were at 28.76.
Good.
I don't think there's anything on here that I was,
No, there's nothing.
nothing particularly outstanding.
Okay. Give everybody another minute or so to see if they can find any glaring, no, not errors, but,
Irregularity.
no, truths that might be alarming. Okay. Would anyone like more time?
No.
No, okay. Let's move on then to the operations report.
No, you have to do November and December, the financial.
No.
Oh, I thought people were looking at it.
Oh, they were looking,
Yeah.
you thought they were
Yeah.
looking at all of them? Were you
Yeah.
looking at all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's done with all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Did I? No. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't take it.
Oh, wait,
It's there. It's there. It's underneath.
it's here, yes. Okay. So we got a very nice review in Google.
I saw that.
Very nice. This is a person, he also, the reviewer included a lot of photographs of the library, so it was very nice. And the Adult Services Department had 50 adult programs that 558 people came to. The Adult Services had 35 and 770 people enjoyed those programs. And you probably noticed that in December, the attendance usually goes down. This is not unexpected. people have other things they want to do. The, all of the library's winter reading challenges started on December 23rd. And that's going full steam ahead. And I would just mention that for the last 18 months, we've been a host location for the First Steps Basic English. It's a course. That course is over with now. That was a collaboration between the literacy volunteers of Somerset County, the Greater Raritan Workforce Development Board, Raritan Valley Community College, and the Hunterdon County Educational Services Commission. And I'm happy to report that several dozen students were able to improve their English by virtue of attending this course.
I have a question. Did the library supply just the space, or did they supply instruction?
Just the space.
Just the space, okay. And this, did this have to do with the Bound Brook building being closed?
No.
No,
No, this
okay.
was something else.
Okay.
Let's see, what else did I mention? Oh, at Lewis Street, the librarians over there attended the very popular Jingle and Mingle event, and they had an outreach table and a spin to win holiday fund wheel. That was on December 13th, and they considered this to be a huge success because they gave away free books and treasure chest prizes. And the table got featured on the Youth Center JAM video because the staff members had really great Christmas outfits on. And the librarian that's in charge of historical room has been contacted and has been working with the various members of the Somerset County Historical Society, and they've been working on a program about the history of Weston Mill. So that's been going on too. And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to add a little bit, I was at the center in Louis Street in November. I spent an hour and a half there, hoping that I would see some kids come in to do some reading or to do some research, but I was really disappointed. I walked around, looked at the books, helped to reshelve some of the books, and only one person was there that day. But the staff there are doing a great job. It's just, I don't know how we're going to encourage the students to use the library.
They have been working very hard to try and get people to come in there, I will tell you, and it's showing some progress, especially with the mothers with the young children. The teens, boy, they're tough to get in there.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we keep trying, or they keep
It
trying.
is hard.
It's
But
hard.
It's hard to even get them. I mean, my granddaughter now is a teenager, and they don't go outside. They don't go outside, and I mean, all of her friends are online. They just want to. She said she's editing, right? They make the video.
Oh, creating content?
Right. And it's like, and it's like the most ridiculous things, like, you know, they watch somebody play a game, and then they make a video about watching somebody play a game. And I'm saying, and I mean, anyway, like right, it's just hard, and then because I thought something was, you know, because my children are grown, I don't, you know, this, and so I'm asking my, you know, a cousin who has a teenager, and my brother who has a teenage grandson, and he's like, yeah, they don't, like me at 13, we had to get called in the house. Like
Yeah.
we had to, you know, we had the street lights on, we were running to beat the street lights on. So, to Agnes' point, and to your point, I can see how it would be hard to get them to come to the.
And they've even had some great movies. They had Barbie.
Yeah.
Would it be beneficial or possible to do some surveys at the schools? To ask kids, like, what do you want to see at the, you know, what content would you like there, but also what classes or workshops, or if there's tutorials about making films
Right.
or editing.
Like
Like, if
that.
that's what they're
Well,
playing with on their
they've
phone,
got that,
can we bring
that
that to the
studio
library?
there
Yeah.
upstairs, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do that.
Yeah,
Do that.
why?
So just find out from them, what would you like to see?
But don't forget that when the librarian is there, she's out there talking to the kids, asking them
Right.
what they want.
Right.
And then they say, well, yeah, we would like this, and then when she has
Has
it,
it.
They will show up.
They don't
Yeah.
show up, yeah.
Okay.
But
And
keep
that's,
doing
only,
that.
and that's only for the kids that are there. If we want to bring more in, we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
outreach maybe to the schools if that's possible
That's
to
it.
do surveys and
Well,
find out.
I've thought about this, and actually, January and I have discussed it also, but I recall very early in the planning stage for that facility, the library was supposed to have its own entrance. Somewhere along the line, during the design, that changed. So the library does not have a dedicated entrance. People have to go through the main entrance. When the main entrance is open, go through a rigmarole. I don't know whether they sign up or what happens, but
Yeah.
it's not convenient at all for,
So you have to sign in before you go to the library?
no,
No.
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 You have to sign in before you go
Before
into
you enter the
the main
building.
building. But to go into the library, you have to walk through the main front door and then hang a left and you go into the library.
Okay, I got you. But it still would have been better.
It would have been better.
it would have been better if there is a dedicated entrance so people, mothers with children and all that, can just park.
Yeah.
And there's only one area that looks to me like it would be a candidate for for its own entrance, and that's right opposite the two handicap parking places very near the building. I think it's worth looking into, whether it's at all feasible. Now, when I say feasible, there are two issues here. One is physical. How do you cut a hole in a building and put a door in it? The other is procedural, with the way they have people come into the building, and if they came into the library's own own door, then could they go into the main
Yeah, security.
main thing?
The
So
main-
there's some
when you
security
first log
issues
in,
there.
the security thing.
So there are some issues, but I think it's probably worth finding out what they are. What are the issues? And
Yeah.
Are any of the programs that's planned gonna be at that library, or is it only at this library and the other library?
We have different plans.
there are programs.
Like as in like some of the stuff planned in the
Well,
calendar?
Yeah, you should have the Lewis Street calendar.
We have calendars for each library.
Okay.
Yeah, it's this one.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay. Yeah.
And we have data on like how many people come to the library, so maybe it's just a matter of time looking it over. It hasn't been a full year, has it?
Oh, yeah.
It's been a full year? Oh my
Already?
gosh, time's flying,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, it's been more than that.
Yeah, so maybe just comparing, seeing if like certain months have more traffic than others, and then,
We keep statistics on everything.
yeah,
So
I'm
we know.
sure. Winter months are tough too, nobody wants to
Yeah,
get out in the
yeah.
cold, so this is a cold week.
We'll keep at it.
Well, yeah,
I've also thought about maybe sending out a dedicated postcard just to that immediate area,
Good idea.
letting people know the library's there, it's for everybody. A lot of people think it's only for teenagers and it's
Right.
only for going into that building. That's a problem.
yeah,
Trying to get through to people, no, it's for everybody, anybody can go in.
right.
So
Yeah,
try,
good
we
idea.
sent,
That is a good idea.
we sent out a postcard when we first opened, but we can do it again.
Yeah, that's a
We can do
good
it again.
idea.
There's a lot of residential units in that,
New
probably
ones too, yeah.
within walking
Yeah.
distance, almost
Right.
walking distance
Because
of
they
the.
have the arbors that's right down the block,
Yeah.
and they gotta have 400, 300 units.
It's a
right
big-
there, and
it's-
then there's Parkside, which is not far from there. Those are heavily populated, and a lot of in a small space, more so than you see a lot of places in Franklin. You know, to have so many people
Yeah.
in such a small place. It kind of reminded me of New York. You know, when, to see, you know, just to, you know, to have that many people there should be more
Well-
traffic in that library.
In talking to people in various places in Somerset County, there's a lot of desire to have a library within walking distance of people. Now, in Franklin, you know, we have 44 square miles of land.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen
Yeah.
very many places, but here is a place where it can happen.
Yeah.
And,
It can happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
we should work on it.
One of my suggestions was that before the end of the school year, the library has to write a letter to each parent, give to each of the students to take home, so that they don't stay in their house during summer. Let them go out. It's walking distance, all around that area is walking distance. Let them go out and utilize the library. I suggested that to Mrs. Caesar, and she said they will look into that.
The schools don't hand out.
They do?
Don't they just post it?
They
No,
can
they
post
do.
messages though.
But I thought maybe the school discontinued sending stuff home with
Yeah, I
kids.
haven't seen at the elementary levels, they send out flyers just for
It's
reducing
been-
paper, but, they can definitely send messages out.
Yeah, they changed their protocol, but I still got flyers.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I still get them from at least Elizabeth Ave School. Not as what it used to be, but it's still something that happens.
Okay.
So I think,
We can
you know,
look into
utilize it,
We
it's
can look
possible.
into it.
I don't know if you talked to like the staff at the youth center about the library being open to all the ages and stuff like that, but maybe you can talk to them about letting parents know, because a lot of drop off, and I see parents all the time with their little ones and they're like, oh, I guess we'll come back in an hour. Instead, maybe they can go in the library with their little ones or things like that when they're dropping their kids off of the program. So maybe you could talk to the staff there and see if they could like kind of start getting that message out there that's open to all ages. Because I know my parents from my program, they usually take their kids and they go and then they gotta come back in 2 hours or whatever. So I'll definitely put the word out there for my parents and let them all know that, you know, heads up, if you guys don't wanna take a drive back to wherever, you can go in the library.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
a good time to capitalize on, you know, if there's a certain timing that the wave comes, like after school hours,
Yeah.
like, that's when we should be saying, oh, there's a mommy and me,
Yeah.
whatever
Right,
class,
right,
after lunch,
right.
right then, or somewhere around
Yeah.
there, so capitalize on that, it's a good idea.
I'll have my media specialist at Claremont and Franklin Park just remind the students, just talking about it every so often.
Okay.
Oh. Thank you all. And Tiana, you see pretty much what the activity is in that building, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, and I know like during the weekends it's not, I go there on Saturdays, but I also do weekdays. Like sometimes it'll be like a Tuesday, Wednesday, it could be any day. Sometimes I'll be there and I can tell like what times. It's very popular around like 5 o'clock, and between like 5 and 7-ish, that's when it's a lot of kids there. And they have different programs like basketball programs, things like that. I see a lot of parents with their little ones dropping them off and dropping off their teenagers and then coming back. Yeah, so I think having like maybe a weekday thing also for like that age population will also be beneficial. Teenagers are all for incentives. It was another program that I worked with there, and it was hard to get the teenagers to come. I literally am walking around the whole building like, come to the program, you know, it's very hard, but when they know it's like, oh, it's an incentive. If you consistently come to this program for this amount of time, at the end it's an incentive, you know, like, it's different ways, like, you know, we just gotta think of ways to catch their attention, and even like I said, the parents, I think that's gonna be a good way to get the crowd coming in with the parents and their little ones and things like that, so.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so, President's report, I have none at the moment. So let's move on to correspondence and communication. Okay, the weekend hours, this is a
Oh, yeah.
holdover from months and year past. And I think we've probably all seen the request and January's response to it. January, do you have any comments on?
I really don't have anything to add to what I wrote.
Yeah, well, you wrote a very,
Yes.
I mean, I didn't,
a good missive.
that was just for the board. I hadn't,
Right.
I've only contacted the person to let her know that we hadn't forgotten, the board hadn't forgotten, there just hadn't been a meeting, so.
Okay. So I mean, I don't know if anybody sees it seems to me that it's not a reason for it to be.
I just don't think there's a need. I just,
Right, I mean, whoever wrote this is talking, I mean, I'm sure they have a need, and it would be nice if, you know, the library could cater to everyone's need. It has to be weighed against
yes.
the practicality of the, you know, keeping a building open an extra hour, an hour or two when, was it 2 people?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
a day,
yeah.
and I don't know if it's, you know, makes sense logically and economically or any other way
No, it just doesn't.
to that.
Unfortunately.
Because are there like a lot of people here, like at the end, like, you know, where you're saying, hey, we're closing, you gotta, you know?
It depends. Some days, yes, but it drops down as the day and the evening goes on. It drops down, especially, like I said, people are not going to go to the library on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night. They're not.
Right. Right. So, I guess that's all the discussion I need.
I would like to suggest that your analysis is correct and that you continue to follow it. And
Yeah.
if the person who requested wants more information, I think they should probably see the full
The full thing.
the full analysis.
Okay.
Right, say that this is not, you know, something that just pulled out of the air. Like they're actually, you know, it's actually data behind
Mhm.
the decisions that are being made about
Okay.
the library hours.
Okay. And then the 2 articles that we received. Any comments on, first of all, the one in the Library Journal, our library is the key to living your best life. Any comments on?
No, I got my packet late, so I didn't really get to
Oh.
that yet. I just got it.
Okay.
You know, a couple of
And then
minutes
the,
before we came. But I will read it. I enjoy it.
The next one is by a museum director of the Newark Museum, and she's talking about how good libraries are. So,
That's good.
I would say, January, thank you for including
Yes.
these for us. I had missed it in the Star Ledger, so. Is there any old business?
Just a comment on libraries are good. I guess in the third world countries, we love libraries because not all kids can afford a phone, an iPhone, or
Right.
you don't have, not everywhere has electricity, not everywhere has. So when you have a library, I remember going to library most of the time. And then in those days, we had encyclopedias, you know, those big books.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where we took all our knowledge from.
Right.
We read. The third world nation really needs good libraries. Some countries, some areas don't have library. I know we only have one in my city, but in all the other towns, there are no libraries.
It's just like everything else, when you have so abundant here,
Yeah.
and sometimes you don't
No,
you don't
appreciate.
realize,
Appreciate.
and you don't
Yeah.
appreciate it, you know, something about missing that water. You know, it's, they used to say, you don't miss the water till the well runs dry, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that applies in this, you know, that saying or whatever, but you know what I'm saying, it's
Yes.
like, we take it for granted, and here is, thank you, Agnes, for,
Yeah.
reminding us that, not everybody, has these, places like this, and just like she said, it's, to go even further, it's because everybody here has, I mean, now, what are the kids now, 10 when they have a phone?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, you work in a school, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're
Do
pushing.
you work with, what's the ages of the children in the schools? Do you work in?
She's in high school.
I'm an administrator, so it's all, but I mean, you see
Oh, right.
kids with,
So
yeah.
you- But so I'm saying, like, you see
When do
kids,
kids get a phone?
yeah, like what age of kids?
Oh.
It all depends on the parents.
Six.
Does Trinity have?
Trinity has a phone, but it doesn't have service.
Okay.
Yeah, my 10-year-old is not getting it, we're pushing it, because we made a mistake with the older two getting it in middle school, so we're just pushing it as much as we can.
And then because they act like it's a necessity. I mean,
Yeah.
in a way, because, you know, my daughter was telling me about my granddaughter, but what if it's an emergency? And I'm like, okay, I mean, but how many kids, I mean, if you look at the statistics, right, like how many kids like use their phones for an emergency, and I mean, scream, help, like where are you, like what kind of emergency are you talking about, right? You know, like if, I mean, you say help, you call the police. I mean, I guess it's different for us because growing up, you probably don't remember this, but
I sure do.
there were payphones on every corner,
Yeah.
right? So there were payphones on every corner, and then there were fireboxes.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
at least in New York, you know, you can call the police, or you can call the fire, or you know, it was just different. So, but now, I don't think a 6-year-old, you know, needs a phone. But anyway, they have them. They have them. But anyway, yeah. Thank you, Agnes, for reminding us.
Okay. Is there any other old business? Moving on to new business. We have a proposed schedule for meetings in 2025, starting with tonight's. I don't have my copy in front of me. Let's see. Yeah,
I memorized it.
You did.
yeah, sure you did.
You want to
Yeah,
recite
okay,
that?
I memorized the first column. They're all on a Wednesday.
They're all on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
so
never
pretty much sticking to the third Wednesday,
Fourth.
fourth Wednesday, until we get to
Yeah,
November and December. November 19th, December 17th, and they're all scheduled to be at 5:45 in this room. Does anyone see any objection to any of these? Is there a motion to accept the proposed meeting dates for 2025?
I'll
Is-
second.
Second, and Kevin seconds. Those in favor of accepting this schedule signify by saying aye. This is unanimously approved. Okay. Well, the next item on new business, it seems that we've already discussed. I guess what I would look for here is a motion to endorse January's study and response to the request.
What is,
The request about extending the hours.
Oh.
Yes, yes.
okay. So what did we,
just maybe authorize me to respond that
Okay.
we can't do it.
Right, I make a motion that we authorize January to respond to request, for extending the library hours and we respond in the negative.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Agnes has seconded it. Is there any further discussion on this issue?
Thinking about today's, what should I say, how should I put it? Safety issues. You have to consider safety issues. You cannot open extend the library for one person or two person because you don't know what their intentions are. So that the hours of the library is 5, that's 5. 7, that's 7. Nothing else. You come the next day if you want to utilize the library.
Okay.
But we have to consider safety issues for the workers in the library.
Okay. Did we vote?
Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by, okay. It's unanimous again. Okay. The third item under new business, and I'll read what I have on the agenda here. Should the library ensure that any book placed in the youth room or other designated youth section meet an equivalent rating of PG-13 or lower? Put another way, should the library ensure that any book that would be rated R or NC-17 not be placed in the youth room or other designated youth area? This is a question, or a couple of questions. Yeah, this is a question.
What is the age that you expect of children in the youth room?
I think we're talking about the young adult room. That's open to anybody 13 to 17. As opposed to the children's section, which is babies, or anybody, babies up until 12, 13. But the YA room, the young adult room, is 13 to 17.
Any thoughts? I mean,
Would anyone like to speak on this?
I brought up the question and posed it this way for discussion to try and make sense of it. There were some concerns brought to me privately by residents on the topic. And I'm young on the board here, and I understand there was a book prior to me joining that was brought up as a concern that was in the youth section. And so I thought it would behoove us to think candidly and openly about what we would choose to put into a section for youth minors. If that text was known, if there were content in it that would be equivalently rated to an R movie, for example, or an NC-17 movie. You know, if we knew that that text had material in it that would be rated that such, should we not put it purposefully in where we know youth have access to it, but instead, for instance, have it available at the library, you know, not restricting it, but not placing it purposefully in the youth section? It's kind of the...
okay, here's the, when you say...
I think Philip wanted to say something first.
Are books rated?
No.
That's what I was gonna ask.
No.
Yeah.
But that brings up the challenge, you know, if we read a text that
That's
has
what I was,
content in it.
Okay, Philip, that was the
Read
question.
it.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody know whether books are rated? January, you had, they are not rated.
They're not with
Okay.
any place that I know.
How
Like,
would we
you'd have to-
decide
you-
what would be?
Okay.
There's the rub.
There's the rub. It depends on the reader.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Does it depend on the reader? I'm asking candidly. If we have content that...
Wait a minute. Let's go around first.
Oh, sorry.
Before we, is there anybody else? Kevin, did you want to say anything else? You were... You
I
had
was
the
saying,
floor.
yeah, I was saying, when films are rated, right? I mean, I don't know the process that they use. I don't know if is it just the, you know, like on television, they're like the 7 words that you can't say that I won't repeat now that I know them. So there's 7 words. So like, how would that happen? How would you look at something and say this is NC-17 or this is and who is qualified to do that? Who would be qualified to do that? And what would qualify someone to be able to say what was suitable for someone 17? And like you said, I'm just asking the questions. I don't know the answers. That's the questions that I would want to know before I would try to make a decision on something like that.
Okay.
I would add that the books that we buy here are all from professional reviews in library journals. That's how we buy books here. They're all reviewed, peer-reviewed books. And just as an aside, the book or books that the question was about earlier in the year, those books are no longer in the YA room. Those are the graphic novels and manga. They are now in the adult section. So the only books in the YA room are fiction, you know, regular text, print. Those books are there.
If
Tia?
I,
Oh,
excuse me.
I'm sorry. Okay. Agnes?
If somebody reads a book, you know, everybody has their own form of comprehension. When you read something, how you comprehend it. And you find out that one sentence there is out of place. Bring it to the notice of the person in the library board, the person in charge of the library. And if they have to put it, X-rate it or whatever, anybody who wants to read that book has to sign for it. You sign for the book, that you are responsible to read that type of book. Then there will be no
It's a slippery
problem.
slope.
17 years old, they read it on their phone. They read it
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So why the library has to get a problem with that?
I mean, I
I'm
just.
sorry, are you advocating that they have to sign for the book, or you're saying no?
If they want to read it, the person who wants to read it, you sign for the book and you'll be responsible
Mhm.
to
Well,
You mean check it out, check it
Check it
out.
out.
you check it. When you want to read it, you sign for it and check it out. With your
See, that's
signature
a
and your,
slippery slope to censorship.
is it?
I mean,
Some
Wait,
parents
wait,
are
wait.
becoming too finicky. Sorry.
I get it.
Okay. Tiana, you work with a lot of young people. How do you feel about this?
I think signing for a book is a lot. That's how I feel, honestly.
Well, actually, anyone can pick up a book off the
Yeah.
shelf and look at it and read it, and then put it back on a table. Don't re-stack
Yeah, I
the
feel
books
like-
yourself.
Kids, they know what expectations they have from their parents, and whether it's a book, whether it's the internet, whether it's this or that, if they're curious about something, they're gonna go and do it. They're gonna find a way to get to it. Like you just said, the book could be out here. They can go pick it up, find the book, read it real quick, see what they need to see, and put it back. So even if you separate the books, they have all access to the library. So I don't know how, and putting the books behind the shelf or
I don't-
in a private place or whatever. I don't know how that's gonna work.
It's not what a library is.
Well, sorry, I'm just gonna add
Yeah.
one point to add to
Amy.
yours from having children too. I think that, and I have to leave right after it, sorry. But having children too, I mean, up until a certain age, you're dropping your child off at the library. So you should be involved in, you know, what your children are doing, whether it's the phone, book, watching TV and stuff. And I think that that's the big thing, is always going back to like the family. And as a mom myself, I should be, if I'm concerned about what my children are doing or whatever, I should be involved in what they're maybe checking out, you know, I mean, I wouldn't, most of the time when I'm in the library or when I've been in the library, I've been with my kids and I'm seeing what they're, checking in and out. So, I mean, I don't see the need to
I just,
have different sections.
are teens not allowed in the adult section?
No, they are allowed. They can, I mean, anybody can walk into the library,
Anybody who can
any
walk into the
section,
library
and
and
look
walk
at
in
anything,
any section.
yes, yes.
Okay, that's what a library is.
That's what we do.
Okay, yes, Zach?
So the question stemming not just from, you know, us having it in the library, anyone can come in and access it, but it's the decision, you know, the question around the decision to place a book into the youth section as opposed to placing it in an adult section. So it's accessible, and to your point, you know, like your parents being involved, and, you know, if you want to bring a child here to access anything you would like to access, but the idea of a librarian selecting a book or us, you know, putting a book into a youth section versus another section.
How is that decision made now?
Okay, we have a young adult librarian
I know.
who buys the books
Goodbye.
for the young adults. She
Right.
buys from reviews. The reviews generally say age, what age they're appropriate for, and that's how they're selected.
When you say a young adult librarian, are you describing the age of the librarian, or are you describing her
That's her
task?
job.
Just-
I know that's funny, but I'm not being funny.
Yes,
You're describing her task.
Okay.
she's in charge of the young
She's in
adult.
charge of the young adults. She
Her
does the
portions.
programs for the young adults.
Right.
She buys the books for the young adults. And there are books, as you probably know, written especially for young adults.
Well, we're a board of trustees, and traditionally, we don't delve deeply into the everyday workings of the library, but we do have the responsibility of making sure that our personnel are qualified, sensible, and responsible. And we are an independent library. Now, what does independence mean? Well, there's a Somerset County library system. We're not a member of that. There are several reasons. One of them is financial, of course, but other reasons are that we feel that our personnel is best suited to make decisions for our population. And I believe that that's the way it should be. And to ask somebody to, and the key here, the word here that is a little bit upsetting, should the library insure? Well, how is the library going to ensure that any book, you know, it means interpreting whole sections of a whole book and determining what part, or whether any part of that book might be objectionable to any part of the population. That's very difficult. That's well beyond what I think is something the Board of Trustees should be concerned with.
When you were approached about this, was it, what were the concerns? And I'm just curious, like
Yeah.
language?
Content. So, you know, if a book that was found that was read by a young person brought to, you know, an adult, their parent, had content in it that the parent thought was, well, that's like, you know, rated
Well,
R
I mean,
content.
like, do you remember what it was?
I'd prefer not to say, because they came to me in confidence, but it was about content.
I mean, but the book is in here.
It was at one point, so they didn't tell me the title of the book, and I can go back to that person privately and ask, and we can find out what it was. But it made me kind of go down a line of questions of, you know, if we come across a book, a resident brings a book to our attention, because the idea of ensuring all books that go in, that's a different, you know, scenario. But if a resident comes to us and say, here's a book that if it were a movie would be rated R, And I think that's how I came up with that language, because the Motion Picture Academy, they have designated and designed their systems to say, here's how we rate it this level, here's how we rate it that level, yada, yada, yada. So if it were to be rated that level, would we then take that book and put it back into a youth section knowing it has content that would equivalently be rated R? And I've been learning from one of our librarians who gave me some great thought, and because his background is strong in this, that my understanding is a librarian as an individual couldn't take a book that had, for instance, explicit material in it and hand that and say to an individual patron who's a youth, a child, and say, here, you should read this book, I think you'd like this. That would not be acceptable or legal, is my understanding, though I'm not a scholar on that. So my thinking was, well, if we can't, as an individual librarian, take this book that would be explicit and hand that to a youth, how is that different than us taking the book, if we know that this book has content that's explicit, and putting that in a youth section? So that's the kind of question I thought, well, we should spend some time thinking about this. And talk. That's where that kind of came from.
I get what you're saying, but I just don't, you know, I've heard about too many instances where there are small groups of people who target, you know, and who say, you know, hey, you know, and like I've seen it and read about it. So if it's true or not, you know, that they get letters from other people that say, hey, these are the books that we want, you know, that we have a problem with, and then all of a sudden somebody's doing, and I'm definitely not saying that this is the case.
Right, and I don't know that that's the case or not.
With you, what I'm saying is that if somebody, when we had a book here the other day, the last meeting that we had, that I read some excerpts from, and I am probably one of the, if I had to put a tag on myself, I would say I was liberal. I said I was for, you know, free thinking and you know, so I read that and I had a little problem. I mean, I looked and I was like, oh, you know, I had a little problem with that. But even with me having a problem with that, you know, I don't know if I'm the one to you know, to make that choice or that decision, or if we should even start doing that. If these were books written for young adults and they're on, you said that you buy these according to the reviews, and they're reviewed. And when you say they're reviewed
in professional library journals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's school library journal, there's library journal, there's Publishers Weekly.
And there's professional.
So in a sense, they are rated in a way. They're categorized, maybe. It's a better way to put it.
It's a review. It'll tell you whether or not, what they think of it, if the library should buy it or not.
I think if at best, if somebody had a specific example, right? If somebody said that this is totally, you know, then they could bring that up to the board. But I don't think, my opinion, that we should start, you know, doing it any other way than how it's. Do
we have a process? Like, is that a process
Yes,
now? That so if a parent says, "Oh, we found objectionable material in this book in the youth section," then what do?
There's a complaint form. They can fill out the form, and then
Okay.
there's a committee, it goes to a committee, which we have done.
The book came before us last year, or was it the year before?
The last year.
And it was a sexually related book, educational. And it was the kind of thing, in my opinion, which is not necessarily of importance, but in my opinion, it was, if a kid is asking these questions, this is a great book for them. they're not asking these questions, they probably don't care about the book. But they were questions that are difficult to ask. The request was that it be put behind the counter, and you have to ask the librarian for it.
Okay.
And the problem with that is,
It was an educational text?
it was a kind of a cartoon type book
Okay.
with educational text and pictures that were graphic. They were drawings,
Okay.
they were cartoon-like,
Okay.
but they were graphic.
I
And
remember that.
the person who might be questioning and trying to figure the world out, in my estimate, would be very reluctant to go to an adult standing behind a counter and ask for a book. So, my opinion was that we should allow the book to stay out there. And
And by
I took
out
the
there-
book home and I looked at it, I didn't do the decision, of it.
You mean
Available.
Available in the
In
youth
the,
section?
in the stacks, yeah.
But that same book, like I say, that was a graphic novel. Those have all been moved into the adult section.
Okay.
So they're not in the young adult room anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a,
Philip, I think you made a good point earlier, maybe not realizing what it was. If a kid is asking the questions, he needs to know. And if he's not asking the questions, he probably doesn't care, he or she probably doesn't care about the book anyway. I think that was a very salient point.
well,
Can I ask a question? I don't know if it is old age. So, no schools teaches biology anymore, physiology, anatomy, or whatever.
I'm assuming they do.
Do they?
The
I
school
don't
still.
know.
Yeah,
I don't
Teachers
know.
there.
Because if that be the case, then books like that should be where?
Mhm.
This was more than that, though. This
Yeah,
was
this
Oh,
was
okay.
This
more
was
of
a
relationships
sexuality.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I think it's a age because it's a generational thing. Because me having daughters, my daughters are 36 and 30. Well, it's very different before they went off to college and came back. And there are things that were acceptable. There are things my mother, as far as people's sexual preferences, things that were just totally taboo to her, and like my uncles who changed their minds, over the years. But sometimes it's generational. Sometimes it's geological. Depending on where you're from. But like the mayor said, I think that the library is here for everyone, right? And we have to think about those types of people who are asking those questions and maybe can't ask their parents or other adults. I don't know. You said they're not in the youth room anymore, right? So I don't. So that's not a problem anymore.
Also,
I'm assuming
the graphic novels are not.
Right.
They're
But if there's a text that has, a description or
Could be.
in text, that
Could
can
be.
still be placed in
Could
the
be.
youth section.
Mhm.
Well, Kevin, you mentioned various groups that might view something differently. You didn't mention economic.
Yeah.
And in this community, we have a large range of
Oh, yeah.
economic,
Yes.
Yeah.
Diversity.
Yeah, we do.
We go from.
I mean, even certain words are very different in different
Yes.
economic environments, so.
Well, I think this is going to be more than one meeting. I mean, I think that what we have in place, and now I wasn't even aware that there was an apparatus for parents to use if they find something objectionable that is in a place where they think that it's maybe doing harm or you know, whatever to their child. There's steps that they could take, you know. So I don't know if we need to do anything else, and that's just my opinion.
Well, it seems that moving the graphic novels to the adult section is already a way of
Yeah.
ensuring at least that those books are not placed in the youth room. So I think,
Yeah, I think because I mean I would have to see it. I would have to see, you know, and I think that responsible people we'd be able, if someone came and said, hey, you know, look at this, and maybe look at it, you know, in the whole context. You know, a lot of things taken out of context is you know, to look at it in the whole context of it and make a decision based on that. I just don't think that any like sweeping changes is necessary or even good, in my opinion.
okay. Well, I would like to say, first of all, thank you, Zach, for bringing it up.
I agree with that.
And
Yes.
making, and putting the inputs that you had reported from others. And I'd like to thank everyone who participated in this.
I picked Zach for his position because I think he's I know he's a smart guy. And he puts a lot of thought into things, and he's from a party other than mine. So there's things we probably disagree about, because I don't want to surround myself with people who just agree with me.
That's a good
So
thing.
I'm glad you brought it up.
That's very important. My daughter, when she graduated from Rutgers, it was on the 250th graduating class. And that was when Obama was the keynote speaker. And he came there and he started speaking, and he said that, what was the woman's name? It just escaped me. The Secretary of State for Bush, Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, Condoleezza.
He says, Condoleezza Rice, he said, I heard you guys was going to have Condoleezza Rice here a couple of years ago. And you guys protested so much that she withdrew her name. And, you know, everybody thought that, you know, he was going to say, you know, right on, you know, for your... And he said, what is the matter with you? He said this woman was the Secretary of State. She's held the highest position in the land up until that point. And what did you think, that you wouldn't be able to learn something from her? Did you think he said you watch only the news that agrees with what you say. You listen to the only discussions you have are with people who agree with you. And that how are you going to better yourself? You know, and I was so surprised, and all of these people who thought they were about to get this big, you know, pat on the back was like, wow, and it made me really think about.
Yeah.
It really made me think about, and it's just what you said, that you have to have opposing views, because I thought I was all the way one side. I thought I was all the way one side, and you brought up some points that made me start to think that, okay, you know, maybe it shouldn't be just, you know, let everything, you know, maybe we do need to take some, you know, common sense, a common sense look at what goes in here. So I guess the mayor already said it, but
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
May I have permission now to open the second part of the public portion of the meeting?
Anybody?
Anyone? No? And I'd like to confirm that our next meeting date is February 26th this year.
Is that Valentine's Day?
No,
No.
Kevin.
When is Valentine's Day?
14th.
14th, come on.
Really?
You're gonna be
When
late
did they
giving
move
your
it?
wife food.
When did they change it?
Last year.
COVID. COVID messed up everything.
Okay, is there a motion to
Not a real
adjourn?
holiday.
Is there a motion to
A
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Okay, I second.
Okay,
Agnes motion.
okay, any discussion about adjournment?
No.
Seeing none, those in favor of adjourning, please indicate by some way. Thank you.
And I'll see you on
We are
Valentine's
adjourned.
Day.
See you on Valentine's Day.
And-